Senator Chuck Grassley says a Department of Justice whistleblower approached him to blow the lid on the scheme amongst FBI officials to bury negative information about Hunter Biden. Now, you see why I'm like, because he's saying this, I take it seriously anyway, but there's a little bit more weight to it because he's saying this. Chuck Grassley is not a theatrical guy. And he doesn't run out with stuff like this. So that's why it's very, like, everyone's going, wait, hold up. Chuck Grassley? He said that this whistleblower, and that would actually be whistleblowing, came forward and said that this information has all been downplayed, everything he's involved in ahead of the election, which we all kind of know. But what everybody's been waiting for is some acknowledgement of this from the FBI. We all know this. I mean, for crying out loud, after he got in trouble with the throwing of the gun in the trash can directly across the street from a school, whether or not that also violated, by the way, the federal Gun-Free School Zones Act that's been in effect since 1990, thus making that, I mean, he would be charged with a felony. I don't know, because that's never been explored. Grassley's the ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. They oversee FBI and DOJ. So that's why they would have gone to Grassley, which also makes it, Grassley would not have come forward like that or said anything like this if it was just all smoke. But we see that too. We've seen all this stuff, and there's a lot of questions. He said, quote, "The information provided to my office involves concerns about the FBI's receipt and use of derogatory information relating to Hunter Biden and the FBI's false portrayal of acquired evidence as disinformation." So he wrote the AG and wrote the FBI director, Senator Grassley did. And he said that they're looking into this. Another investigation for Hunter. Now, this all came up after these revelations last week that the federal investigation into Hunter Biden had reached a very critical juncture. And investigators were weighing whether or not to charge him. The DOJ probe in Delaware intensified in recent weeks, and that's per CNN, which, take it. But they said they were looking at tax violations and making false statements at purchasing a firearm. That's what one source said. Because remember, at the time that he purchased that firearm, that coincided with all of the time that those videos that you saw everywhere from his cloud and from his laptops. That's the same time that those were recorded. So he was an active drug user. That's a question on that 4473. He lied on it. That's a falsification. That's actionable. Unless your name rhymes with Schmunter Hayden. So Biden has always said he doesn't have any knowledge of his son's business dealings. We know that's not true. Information from that, all of the information they tell on themselves. All of this stuff came to light because Hunter Biden's such a hot mess. He has told on his whole family this whole time. That's what all of this has been. Now, they say that furthermore, there's these, let me pull this up. There were these documents too. This documentation from Catherine Herridge, who got this letter that was written from Chuck Grassley to Merrick Garland and Chris Wray, the FBI director. And it gets into, there's some very interesting things that she had pointed out in this letter. That the information, the receipt and use of derogatory information, and it gets into how in September of the investigation, September 2020, and the FBI headquarters, and about they get into, gosh, there's a lot of information here. The direction of the investigation, his financial dealings, the misconduct regarding the firearm, and all of this stuff. But he wants an investigation into this. He wants to know why there's a whistleblower that is telling him these things, and why is it that it seems like they've been dragging their feet, because they have. He said that these are, based on that the FBI was trying to, back in 2020, trying to shut down all of this damaging information, and they did it by falsely characterizing it and tried to improperly discredit this negative Hunter Biden information as disinformation. This is from the letter. Based on allegations, verified and verifiable derogatory information on Hunter Biden was falsely labeled as disinformation. And they said that it was Timothy Thibault who he was identified by Grassley as being the agent who ordered the Hunter Biden reporting the derogatory information as closed, and that Thibault was a FBI senior agent at the Bureau's Washington field office. And woof. And he says that in doing this, Thibault likely violated, quote, federal laws, regulations, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation guidelines. So they want to have a review of this, which I completely think is absolutely acceptable. I mean, this is crazy. I want you to imagine if this is the stuff that was just on his cloud, the videos that were leaked out and the stuff on his laptops that were his and that are now in FBI custody. What isn't out there that foreign entities, geopolitical foes have that isn't out yet? Because think of this. I honestly think that the only reason this stuff is coming out now is because this is the other tactic that Democrats are using to try to keep Joe Biden from considering another run. Like, we'll shame your family, we'll do this, we'll ruin your other son, all this other stuff. I don't even think that I think they will come out with the rest of this stuff after midterms. They'll drop all this stuff after midterms. I think there's even a hell of a lot more that it just hasn't been released yet. And it'll be released if Joe doesn't step down after midterms. If he does not commit to one term, I think that they'll drop the rest of this. You can't tell me that there's not more. Golly, there's like, this guy had so much. This is crazy. He had so much stuff. But it is, yeah, they buried these stories. While they were going after parents and calling parents domestic terrorists because they were speaking out in school boards. Yeah, they were sitting here covering up Hunter Biden's his behavior.